Hello. Oh my god. Huh? What is that? What is all this? Oh shit. What do you mean error? Oh, it's my sound alerts being fucked. Yeah, I still can't get sound alerts to work, even though I updated my OBS. I don't know. I don't know. Let me. Oh my god. It says everything's okay. Please refresh. It says everything's okay. How is it okay? It's not okay. Where's Seabat? Which source is it playing from, though? Okay, hang on. I need to get to the bottom of this. Is it playing from the dashboard? Let me see if I close the dashboard. It's playing from some source. I just don't know which one. Oh, you guys can't hear because you don't have desktop audio. Sorry. There. I don't know which source it's playing from. I don't know. If I turn this off, is it still playing? Wait, let me see. Ooh! It does. Okay, it's playing. It's playing from some unknown source. I don't really know. Oh my god. Seabat short was a fucking mistake. I'm not gonna be able to get Seabat out of my head. Alright, so I wanna play. God, I'm itchy. Okay. I guess I'll give it back? Give what back? Can you not hear it? I can hear it. You can't hear it? Can you not hear it? I can hear it. Am I imagining it? Do you not hear it? I'll give it back. You thought it disappeared. I see. Oh, is it loud? Yeah, it's kind of loud. Let me adjust the volume on that, actually. My alerts. Seabat. Short. Volume. Let's go down to 50 on that one, huh? Okay, anyways, I wanted to. God, this is fucked up. My sources are fucked. Ivan, oops, I'm sharing my browser. That's embarrassing. Anyways, oh, good thing I didn't have anything bad open. Oh my god, what if I just had like my bank open or something? What the fuck? Let's, oops. Or my, like, it could have leaked my Discord? I have like just a DM with my friend open? I could have leaked that? Dude, OBS is dangerous. Hello, Akko. OBS is so dangerous. Anyways. The stream? What stream? What do you mean? The Steam? Yeah, I don't know why she's black. Let me hang on. Why are the sources visible by default? dude. How do I just capture steam, man? What am I doing? What am I? Capture method. Oh, there we go. Windows 10. I gotta hit the Windows 10 button. Bam. Okay, here. I searched horror. I want to play a horror game. I have a few installed, but I think a lot of them are really tiny, so I can just install them like on the fly, you know? I will not be playing this. This is the worst game ever made. I'm sorry if you like this game. It is doggy doo-doo. I hate Dead by Daylight. Sorry if that's like a hot take. I don't know. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Open Mic Challenge. Now that's scary. That's horror. That is. I've got I don't know, like I've got I don't know. I've got like this. This is multiplayer though. I was playing this with some of my friends, and then we beat the first level, then we stopped. I've got this installed. This is like kind of like a visual novel type game though, I think. So I don't know if it's very good for this. I think this is big probably. This I played a little bit of this. It scared me. It made me feel frightened. I could play it, I guess. I do have this installed still, for some reason. I uninstalled this because it's fucking huge. It's not that big actually, but listen. Let me tell you let me tell you something about my disk space. I swear there's something wrong with my hard drives because I'll install nothing and then like they just keep running out of space. I have 15 gigs free on my C drive and 87 free on my E drive, and that's it. Look at all this. Look at all that. I've got sexy. And you'll never know where I got this from. It's from, I'll show you. It's from the library of math class. It's not even mine! I thought I had more, honestly. I thought I had more. Got all this. This. I guess I'll play the lighthouse game. Windows has an inflation fetish. Math class, you got some explaining to do. I'm pretty sure it was on their wish list and someone just gifted it to them randomly. This is the story. I don't know. I know, like, I know people like to see their streamer be scared. I do not like to be scared. Oh yeah, there's this. I did want to play this, but I think this is like, it's really, I tried to stream this before. It's one of those point-and-click adventure games. I tried to stream it before, and I couldn't get OBS to like capture it. Like, it's that old. But, like, I just literally couldn't get OBS to capture it. And also, apparently it's really hard. Like, you have, it's kind of like Clock Tower 1, where like you kind of have to have a walkthrough, or you like can't beat it if you're a normal person. I played a bit of this before. This was really scary. There was a scary centipede. I didn't like it. I'll play the lighthouse game. I've played for 12 minutes before. I'll play some more. As long as, you know, if I shit my pants, I shit my pants. That's just how it's gonna be. I wonder if there's a hamster dance. Yeah. Sound alert. Oh no, I want a hamster dance sound alert. I only play it vicariously through Daphne 39. Oh, I didn't know she played that. I watched her play that bathhouse game recently. I usually don't watch her play horror games because I'm like, what if I want to play it? So I did watch her play the bathhouse game recently. I also watched her play Where's or Who's Lila? Who's Lila? I thought that one was interesting. But she skipped a lot of the reading, so the story didn't really make sense. How do I search more sounds? Hamster dance.
Attention!
Oh, that's not right. Wait.
Attention!
That's not hamster dance. Why is that called hamster dance? Here, this says hamster dance nightcore.
Here we go.
Attention! We got hamster dance techno.
It's a hamster dance.
Here comes the music.
That one kind of sucks. What about Miku hamster dance?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, okay, that's good, that's good. I need to delete one of the vine booms. How do I delete it? Delete! Delete. Good. Now we have hamster dance button. I don't want to play this game. I have to pee. I'm gonna piss my pants. I'm hungry too. I'm just stalling. My teeth! What's happening? Ah! What's happening? What's happening to me? Oh my god, I'm actually haunted. Holy shit! What the fuck is going on? I'm kind of scared. Why is my model freaking out? Why is my model freaking out? Hang on. Is Steam downloading something? It's not. Why is my model freaking out? Like, actually. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Why is my model freaking out? Is it good? That was weird. That was really weird. I don't know why that was happening. I fixed it though. Did I get spooky mode? Hang on. Spooky mode? Aye! Aye!
Here we go.
I gotta turn that bitch down. Holy shit. My model's freaking out again. Or is it? I'm so confused.
Here we go.
Okay. We're in scary mode. It'll be okay because no one lives under there. Aye. Hang on. Pixel dithering guard pixels? What is guard? What is guard? Oh, hard. Pixels. Okay, it's too bright now. I'll make it. Look at all these languages. Should we play in whatever this is? Or this? Pizza language? Ah, pizza. At Lalanos Grafica. Igen. Oh, wait, help. Okay, so before me there are two doors. Before me there's one door. Ah. Cool place. I like it, I like it. Mmm. Delicious. Peace jug. Oh. Bolitatas. Dio mio. Ah. Hello, sir. Goodbye, sir. He's made of cum? Oh my god, I'm so scared. Should I approach? I'm so frightened. I don't like it. What? Why are you banging on the door? Look at these balls. I was about to make a ball sack joke and they're banging on the door. Ball sack. I have a job to do. Can't let these things bother me. I can't let such things get to me. Ah, yes.
Here we go.
Cranked up. Yeah, I'm cranking. Where do I put the piss? Here? Oh! Oh yeah! Previous keeper disappeared. I suppose he ran away on a boat, left the duty of the bastard. Now there's no one on the island. But you look like you know the job, do you? You should light this lamp on the evening and should keep it working until sunrise. You also should keep it clean all around, especially the lens itself. The establishment will indeed assistance soon, and I will get back here in a week. Good luck. Okay. I don't want to read anymore. Can I stop? Hello, Sterling Lioness. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Remember how loud that was? I'm kind of like desensitized to it, I guess, because I've heard it so many times. Fuck off! Fuck out of here, you bitches! Every last one of you! I'll kill you! Man, my eyes hurt. Is that the guard pixel effect? If I turn guard pixels off. Oops. Look at the same. Pixel dithering? They still look at the same. Maybe it's because I cranked up the brightness. What's this, boat? I thought that guy took the boat. Something doesn't add up here. Do. You get one if you wanna escape, which I obviously don't have a reason to smile. Yeah. Smile. I'm smiling. Ah. What's this? Why can't I jump, bitch ass game? All good games have jumping. Whee. I don't know why I came over here. There ain't shit here. I don't know why. What kind of game is this? Walking. It's a horror game. A little scary. A little spooking and scaring. Blink and eyeing. Nothing's happened yet. There was a jump scare when the banging was on the door. Ants have been shitted. Yeah, I take a drink. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. I don't know the rest of the words. It's like her laugh, blah, 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 blah. Her fart. Hi, Kurt. I gotta get someone on call with me while I'm doing this. Or I won't have... Alright guys. Do I go in the shack or in this? Get a silly little guy? Into the hole I go? The grass scared me! I hate this! What is this? Huh? Oh yeah, her eyes. Make the stars look like they're not shining. When I see your face. Where am I? What's this? It's not a thing that I would change. Where am I? Get out of here. This is Morrowind core? Oh, it's a scary game. 'Cause you're amazing. Just the way you are. Ah! Fuck you, MILF. I'll kill you, motherfucker. When you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. Ah! 'Cause you're amazing. Stop it! Just the Ooh, check that out. Ooh. The way you are, the way you are. You guys can't get me anymore. You guys can't get me. I'm mopping up this pissy shits. Shitty piss. Didn't I pick up a key? Shut this shit up right now. Shut up, bitch. Oh? Oh! Oh my god, that's me. Cleaned up the skid mark. The way you are. Hey Kirk. Kirk, are you still here? Will you Discord call me and watch me play this? And do some funny commentary? To make me less afraid? Okay. Hello? Hi? You missed it. There was a man made of cum earlier.
Ew.
Ew.
I don't want to hear that.
But you're gay.
That's really offensive.
I can't. You're so quiet. Here, I turned you.
Oh,
I got you. I turned you up.
Okay. Yeah,
Should I share my screen on here so that
yeah, that
there's
would
no
be
delay?
ideal.
Yeah. I think my PC can handle this. Not to brag. Wait, actually it can't. Hang on.
Well, you don't have to.
No. I can close Edge. I think it's good.
On my homework.
Homework. Don't
It's
make fun of me for
horrible.
using Edge.
No, all of the Chromium users are using Edge now because it's like Chrome,
Yeah.
but not.
The way you are. I'm gonna go
What's
in here.
the plot of this game?
Huh? Have you
what's
ever
the
seen the
plot?
Robert Pattinson movie? The Lighthouse?
The Robert Pattinson movie? He's only been in one.
Yeah, Twilight.
Oh yeah, oh, of course, Twilight. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like that.
Oh. Where's Bella?
I'm Bella.
Oh, are you pregnant with Renesmee?
Yeah.
You got a butt in the oven.
Oh no. Okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to do my job. Oh wait, I have a key though. Where's my? Ah! Fuck you. God.
Is this game game actually old or is it like new but old art style?
It's new but like old art style. Yeah, this is really popular like way to make scary games now is like make them in like old graphics.
I saw a different game that was like this. That's the only reason I even like thought that it might be new was because I did see it. I don't remember what it was, but I remember seeing like a newer game that was like an old art style. It was like a PS1 graphics inspired.
Yeah, it's a really, really popular way to make like specifically horror games. I feel like there's something on the wing. Someone has fallen. He said, "Ooh." Do you hear? Do you have your sound on?
I can. Oh, I had to turn it up. I did have it on, but it was really quiet, so I did not hear
Someone
Yeah, sorry,
fell.
can you give me an impression again?
You went, "Oh."
Oh, okay. I see. You went.
Oh. I don't know where. I mean, I guess it was just a jump scare. There's something out here. Whatever. Didn't even get me. I have like a meter that fills up. I can only be jump scared so many times in 5 minutes. And I already got jump scared by Seabat.
Oh, it's a cooldown.
Yeah, my jump scare's on cooldown because I already got jump scared by Seabat.
That's really efficient.
Yeah. Crank that.
Ew. Why is that wait, turn to the right? Why is that up here? Who put that here?
Someone. Crank that.
Ooh, cranked up. Yeah, why is it Soldier Boy playing? Ooh. Bow, 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 Soldier Boy down.
Man needs his tunes while working. Yeah, I guess they have to like stand here and do this all night, so they got some tunes, you know. I thought I got a key, because I'm supposed to get the. Oh, here it is. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to come out here, but very nice, very nice.
Can you jump in this game?
No, it sucks.
Oh my god.
Bad game. You know my good game checklist?
Has the ability to jump.
Jump, titties, pussy.
Boobing breastily.
Yeah, boobing breastily. That's a necessity. And it rhymes.
Yeah. And it rhymes. The three qualities of a good game: can jump, has boobs, and rhymes.
The jumping Dr. Seuss.
With big boobs? Why did you pick Dr. Seuss?
I feel like
Oh my god.
he's gonna bang on the door again, and it's gonna scare me. Never mind.
No, you can't be scared. You have to be strong.
Fart. You redeemed that.
Yeah, I can't hear it, but I know that it was funny.
Boom. Oh, my game's stuttering a little bit. Oh, look how pretty. Yes.
Whoa, lighthouse.
Yes.
She's kind of serving.
Yeah, she serves. Walks like twerking. I don't know what's happening.
Is it growing? Why is it? It looks like it's getting tall.
Yeah. It did look like that. I don't know if that's the pixel graphics being funky. Oh my god, I thought that boat was a cockroach. Like a giant cockroach. Like cockroaches on the bridge. Dude, we had like... Oh my god.
Oh my god. What was that? Why is it doing that?
They fucking...
Hey, put that back. That's not yours.
What was that about?
Dude, you slept here? Wait, are you the worker in this building?
Yeah, this is my job.
Oh.
This is
I
me.
see,
You
I
see
see.
me?
The fact that there's a reflection is obvious that this isn't actually like an old game.
Well, it's not really a reflection, because, like, look at the way he's moving. Like, I'm not doing that.
Well, it's idle. Ew, what's wrong with your bed?
I had a little bit of pissy ooh, I made a bit of a,
War?
Sorry.
Hate when that happens. Hate when I have an oil spill in my bedroom.
Yeah, it really sucks. Really fucks everything up, huh? When I leave the meat sitting out.
Ew.
Doo-doo in bed.
What is it supposed to be? Is it water?
On the
Why is it
floor?
black?
I don't know. Maybe oil from the... like...
There's no way that you're sweeping up oil with a broom.
I really don't know.
That's the scary
Maybe
part.
it is water. Maybe it's like I was like... I crawled back here all wet.
I still feel like a broom is an inadequate tool for that.
What the... There's more out here. Am I expected to clean this out here too? Wait.
That's what makes it scary. You're
It's
gonna
like-
go back in, it's gonna be back on the floor.
It's like a
Just-
wet... It's like a wet sound though when I step on it. Like...
You cannot take the broom outside.
This is an
That is an
indoor
inside
only
joke
broom.
only.
Yeah. I want to go look at that boat. The cockroach boat. This is like, I forgot my glasses.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is kind of like if you look at like a 2D game, this is like if you made a 2D game 3D.
You
I
zoomed
won't
in.
elaborate on what that means.
I don't want to go in here, but I guess I will.
Oh my god, shovel.
Hello. Hello, woman. There's nothing.
Are you in a coffin? What is this room?
It's just some sort of like shed.
Why
I don't know.
why did they not build a window in that thing?
Good question.
It's also way more spacious on the inside than it than it looks on the outside.
I don't know how to. I'm honestly lost. Oh, there. Okay, that's how you.
Exploring is. So you're on an island?
Yeah, this is like. Have you not seen the Lighthouse? That movie with Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson?
Yeah.
No. I know.
Oh,
You
it's
keep
like
mentioning
it's like
Robert
super
Pattinson.
famous. I thought you've definitely seen it. It's. I didn't like it. It's like one of those like intelligent art film type of movies where like it's like boring for the most
college
of it.
art film. But there was like
No.
a deep message.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's
But it
it's just, like
wasn't.
nothing's happening the whole time and like. Is that like coming at me? No. Okay.
No, it's marked before.
I like that it's a little raised.
Like it looks on a hill. That's the 3D.
Oh, my boat's been broken. What's this now? Illuminati.
Alright. Alright, what's this then?
What is that creature on your head? Have you not seen this before on Twitter? It's Its
me.
name is what's his name? It's called. I googled it to find it. It's called like TBH creature or something. It's like. Although it's a I don't know how to explain this to you. I think
It's
it's
me.
a young. Oh, it's yeah. That's representing Kirk actually.
I am piloting her like Ratatouille.
Forcing me to play this terrifying game. I know where this goes though.
Do you? I have no idea what this could possibly be for. It's just like a rock.
No, I know I know where it goes because there's this like listen, I'm a seasoned video gamer and in the like
Of course.
cabin like that I sleep in, there's like a chest that has a bunch of circles on it. So I think this goes there.
Oh. It was like you're playing Slender. You have to collect all 13
Yeah,
pages.
it's like I'm playing Slender. Hey, Slender
You're
kind of
collecting all
did
13
Slender
rock
was
apples.
kind of the first game ever, right?
Ever. Yeah, I think so. I remember that actually.
But Slender did this, right? Like Slender had like shitty graphics, but like,
I think Slender had shitty graphics like because it was like I think that was just the game. I don't think
Yeah,
it was
but,
a
like-
art style choice. I think Slender just looked like
know.
that.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't look this bad. Well, and to be fair, I don't think this game looks like. I think that the art style in this game is intentional, but like I think
Yeah,
Slender looked more modern than
Slender-
this. And it wasn't
Slender-
intentional.
Yeah, Slender just did what it could.
Right, and it looked horrible. But I
As
don't
a
want to give them the
result.
benefit of the doubt and pretend that it was intentional.
You ever played
Slender, that wasn't their choice.
multiplayer Slender?
No, I never played Slender because I'm an adult.
I played the shit out of Slender. No, I had this friend.
We weren't at the time. We were children.
Yeah, I had this friend named Olivia, and Olivia Rodrigo, if you will. Just kidding, it wasn't Olivia Rodrigo.
Olivia Rodrigo. Of course. Oh my god, how did you know her?
And she lived in like this cul-de-sac on my street, and would always watch like PewDiePie, Slender videos together. And we thought it was
Watching some pews.
we thought it was so scary. We would like I remember like I have this vivid memory of like sitting in my front room where the computer was with her and watching them and like screaming, like being like
Slender.
yeah, screaming at something, just going ah, and we would play it too. I think like
Hey, where'd that come from?
I don't even know what it is. Anyways, we would play it, so I think I had it on that PC, and my mom would be like, "Shut up!" Because we'd just be in the front room at like 5 p.m. screaming at Slender, and she'd be like, "Stop screaming!"
Dude, I can give you, well, first of all, do you remember those girls that like went to prison over Slender?
Yes, because they stabbed their classmate like 20-something times, and she's just fine. That's the craziest thing about it all, is that the girl that they stabbed...
Well,
I mean,
physically.
Like, yeah, I mean, she's
There's
probably...
no way.
Yeah, she's probably traumatized, but like physically, like she recovered in like... She went back to school in like a year. Like, they sucked so bad at killing her.
Yeah, they probably were
that
very
she was
strong.
just fine. Yeah, I think people underestimate how like really hard it is to stab somebody. Like, it's really exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. But I can also I can't necessarily give a rough time of when Slender happened, but I do have some perspective that it was around the time that like Diana came out in League of Legends, because I remember I was living at my dad's house, and I remember like my room was upstairs still at the time. Anyway, that was when he used to turn my internet off like at 12 a.m.
Yeah.
When I was getting bullied. That's how I know that we were actually kids when Slender came out, because like I have a general idea of the time frame.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I was in middle school. It was like forever ago. That's crazy, actually, how long ago it was. I remember there was one of the things that like I can probably attribute to the development of my sense of humor is this. Excuse me. Is this video called like 12 Drunk Guys Playing Slender, and like it's comedy-wise, like the video is pretty average, I guess. Except it's got that like Sky Williams style of like everything that is said is captioned, and for some reason that just makes it funnier. I don't know why. And I just remember thinking that was like the funniest fucking thing I had ever seen in my whole life. That video. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, by the way.
That's okay, I don't either. We're just hanging out. The caption thing, I know exactly what you mean, but also it's like an antiquated editing style.
I don't think so.
Have you watched this?
I think even like it's like different but the same even these days. Like streamer highlights like always have captions. I think captions are good. Yeah.
Just accessibility. I guess maybe I'm thinking more of just like not really captions but like over editing. Like, have you watched a Sky Williams like League of Legends video?
Oh my god. Yes, and they're so hard to watch because he's such an asshole. Like
Oh yeah.
It's like
not exactly a good person.
All these other people are like trying to talk, and he's just screaming over them and calling them names. It's like, why did I ever think this was funny?
Yeah, it's just it's growth. Personal growth is knowing that some of the things that you thought were funny when you were a kid are not funny.
But I don't remember. but the thing about it is, like, I didn't think it was funny because he was annoying or because he was mean. It was just something I didn't notice. Like, it was something that just didn't bother me, but it bothers me now. Like, I didn't think it was funny because he was, like, a dick to his friends, like, screaming over them, acting like a crazy person. I just, like, didn't notice, and I just thought everybody else was really funny.
There's also, like, a lot of the, like, old League of Legends content, like, that time period was really just about having one joke, and then you kind of repeat it for about 5 minutes, and then you upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of it just did not stand the test of time, but...
Yeah.
At least there's the
product of its time, guys.
What am I supposed to be fucking doing? Tell me, ballsack.
Yeah. It's true, old video game style. No journal. No hope.
No journal?
Yeah, like a quest like a log, you know. J for journal.
Did you check if you can clean the skid marks outside your house? I did check actually, and I couldn't. Okay, this song sounds like shit. Shut
Dude,
the
I
fuck
worked really
up.
hard on that.
It sounds like shit.
Well,
Sorry.
that's really cruel of you to say.
I can't even put my piss in the hole. What's up with that? Someone put their soul into that song. It's not that it sounds bad. It's that the audio quality. It sounds like it's like I'm like listening to it through a McDonald's drive-through mic. It was like
Would
hurting
you
my
like
ears.
it? Oh my! There's no way that you're gonna complain about the audio quality. Miku Hatsune
Miku
died from this.
Hatsune. No.
Vocaloid 2.
Vocaloid 2 is a masterpiece.
Enough said.
Yeah. I mean...
She slays though.
It's not...
And she's a lesbian.
Miku's a lesbian?
It's a head.
Fuck off! That's not right. You can't just play Seabat like that.
Is there anything else on this island other than the lighthouse?
I'm trying to find out. There's this lighthouse. Oh, there's something over here. What's this?
Isn't that the shack?
That's the shack. No, wait.
What is this?
No, that's different. This is some outhouse.
Like an outhouse?
Yeah. Maybe I gotta...
Oh, like from Shrek.
Like from Shrek.
The only media that's ever had an outhouse before.
Oh, it's just open. We got flies buzzing. Okay. Well, maybe I need some wood? Where's the McDonald's on this island? I need a DoorDash. No. Maybe I'm supposed to...
So you have this cloth.
Yeah.
You have the watering can.
I'm supposed to do something to make it night. Like, I need to do something to progress into nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what.
There's no instruction set.
No, there's no hints. There's no... I can't even see like 15 feet in front of my face.
No glasses simulator.
Yeah, really.
So what day is this? Oh, this is day 2.
Like, are you asking me if it's Tuesday? I don't know.
No. I'm looking up a guide so I can guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, this is day 2.
Yeah, I know it's on day 2 because I can see some things that you've already done. Okay. I think I know what you need to do, and I don't know if you're going to figure it out unless I tell you.
Just tell me.
You have to go onto the balcony and use the cloth on all 8 windows. You have to wipe the windows down.
Motherfucker. Okay.
Yeah. That's your next task. It seems... Okay, I guess I don't know if these tasks are required to be in order. I'm assuming that they are, but I hope that they're not, because some of these are going to be really annoying if you have to do them in order. But
I like a lot of
this
running
is the
back and
next
forth.
one. Yeah.
That's okay. The end goal is to find the cure to the character's cataracts. Maybe.
That's new. This is from... This walkthrough's from 2 years ago. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe they're lying to me. But this says to go on the balcony and use the cloth on all 8 windows.
Balcony.
And you were in the shed at one point, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think that these do have to be in order because there is something in the shed for
Oh.
you later. So if you didn't have anything that you could interact with
Why-
in the shed before, you probably should have to do these all in order.
Why is it getting like black when I walk up to it? What the? Do it from out here? Ah, okay.
Oh, yeah, that was going to take a while to figure out, I think. I love the squeaking noise.
Oh yeah. Little farting.
Seabat core.
Yeah.
many days are in this? It's okay.
nighttime now.
Yay.
I can probably...
Oh, maybe you have done all these other things then, actually, and maybe that was the only thing you had left to do. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so, because now I can crank it. Whoa, it's like shit city in here.
Hey, you. Who did that?
Where's my cloth? It's gone?
I threw it away after I wiped those windows down. It was actually a paper towel the whole
why
time.
can't I crank that? In music?
Why can't I crank that Soulja Boy?
Oh, the rope's been cutted.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you do have to do this all in order then. I think. Yeah. Okay, so you still have some things to do then.
Unfortunately. What? Now what? I have to tie again? I just bitch? I don't know what I just picked up. Seems like it would be hard to clean. Yeah, okay, turning this on was a mistake. Shut your shit up. Girl, what did I...
You picked up the cut rope. That's not gonna help you.
Can I tie her back?
I mean, yeah, I guess you could just tie a knot.
I can't solder her?
That didn't get invented until new games, though. And no, you can't solder a rope. That would just start it on fire.
Not with that
I don't have a problem with
attitude.
soldering it now.
Okay. Look at that wiggling stare. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's something under there.
Put something on the rope. Aye!
So, do you think the twist ending to this game is that someone does live under the lighthouse?
I mean, I already know someone's there. I saw him in the first 2 minutes of the game. Hello, Wonder Waffle.
What?
Yeah, you weren't here for it, but the intro of the game is like you're taking care of the lighthouse and you go into that like, you know that cellar door that's been locked? You go down there and there's like someone standing there, and then you take care of the lighthouse.
Was one posing there?
Yeah, he was literally like keep posing, and then you take care of the lighthouse, and then it cuts to like you're this new character, and it says the last guy disappeared. That's the lore.
Wow.
He was literally just standing there like the emoji.
That's crazy.
Meow 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 meow. What the? Oh, I got some. Good thing I clicked on this for no fucking reason. Oh, I gotta get the rope from in here. God damn it. I do not see anything else. Do not look around. I'm very slow that I'm holding this bag of like I don't know what.
Oh, like you're over encumbered.
I'm over cucumbered, just like in Oblivion.
Yeah, can we TGM?
TTM. God mode.
Yeah. There's no encumberment. Or you can TCL. TGM TCL.
TGM
Run really fast.
Yeah, no clip.
Can we player dot what is it? There's like you can make your speed higher in that game, I think. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, you can do it all.
Oh yeah. Bethany Ezda? Thanks for playing my game.
Ezda, I love that game. I was
Bethany
playing.
let you do anything to her game. I
I was streaming Oblivion this probably 2 years ago, honestly, when I was streaming my Oblivion playthrough, and I was like, I'm too slow. And I just cheated my speed to be like just a little faster. And I was just playing the game like that. Uncap your frame rate.
Yeah. Oblivion. maybe you didn't encounter this. Oblivion being like not like the oldest, but like an older game.
Yeah.
For some reason, all of the like animation speeds are tied to your frame rate. So if your frames go down, the animations slow down. But it also means that if you have more than 60 FPS, those animations are fast, bro. So you have to like, I think the game by default caps your FPS to 60. But I remember I tried to play it recently and I tried to uncap it because I'm like, I have 144 hertz. I'm gonna get the most. No, you can't do that because everyone moves really fast.
Wait, are you serious? I need more than one of these? No way. No fucking way. No. I'm not making that. Oop. Oop. There ain't no way. Also, why am I just like going about business as usual when like all this goop is covering?
It's the scary part.
But wouldn't you like quit? Am I really need to get more bags? Or do I have to go down and tie? Girl. All of that 20 bucks. Oh, I see. I do need to go get another one. Are you for real? Oh, whatever.
Yes, you are correct. You do have to get another one.
It took me so long to walk here.
Do you want to give me the? You want me to give you the worst news?
What?
You have to get another one after that.
No! This game. That's the true horror of it all. Oh, I can sprint though. I didn't even know that. This is like how I played all of Fatal Frame 1 and I didn't know I could sprint. And I would complain about it too. I would like complain. I'd be like, no one had ever played the game before. When I finally figured it out, it was when somebody that had played the game before came in and was like, why aren't you sprinting? But that was like, I was like almost done with the game at that point, so it didn't even matter. But like the whole time I was like, I'm so slow, why am I so slow? This fucking sucks. And that game is like, you kind of have to like maneuver around the ghosts and like position yourself accordingly. Like it's not hard to do the combat without sprinting, but the sprinting definitely made it a lot easier. I just wasn't doing it at all. Oh well. I just thought it was one of those like horror game things where they make you walk really slow on purpose because it's like scarier that way, you know?
Maybe. I mean that's like a fair guess. You didn't like check the controls.
I guess not. I don't really know how. Like I don't think the game ever told me how to sprint or anything. Like I don't know.
Look at the emote I just sent you.
Why did my
oh my god! What is that?
Oh, I gotta run, but I'm like...
Oh, you're in control. But you're super slow, apparently.
Go, bitch! Run, bitch! Where am I going? Oh!
I think you lost.
No way. Oh, but I get...
Oh,
Don't worry,
I
got a second chance. Get me out of here, motherfucker. Woo! Bob and weave! I'm so slow! Are you for real?
Maybe you just try running at the monster. Maybe you can like, it's like you're playing chicken.
It won't let me move. I don't think S works actually.
Oh, they disabled that key. That's unlucky.
Let me see. Yeah, it literally doesn't work. Maybe I need to get into the house.
Oh. I don't know because
I
don't think because you can't use S. So like, what if you went past it by accident? That doesn't mean. Oh, but you can turn around with W.
Oh.
Master gamer or what?
The Bob and weave slowed you down. Oh my god, that was a lot. First try. That was a lot. So that thing like can't get into my house?
Yeah, I guess he's like a vampire. He has to be invited in.
Hi, looking good. Good. Okay, like back to business as usual, or? Yep. All right.
Yeah, what was that? What was that about?
Just as if nothing had ever happened.
Imagine that you were in this position and this
Kill myself.
grotesque
Kill
giant spider
myself.
monster just chased you, and you're like, oh, I better go get more grain.
Better keep doing my job. That was a whole ass spider monster, and this guy is just gonna finish his shift. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Must have been my imagination.
This is what it's like to work in an Amazon warehouse.
They chase you down with spider monsters every day just to keep you on your toes. Who's DMing me? Oh, it was you. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
you like
cute.
that?
Yeah, right when
I
you told me
love
to,
that.
right when you told me to look at that was when that thing started chasing
Yeah,
me.
it was horrible timing. Yeah, there's also this one. Hold on.
It's a good thing I found out that I could sprint right before that happened, though, right? Okay, I'm not, like, as scared of that, though. Of the spider thing. Like, what really scared me was the man A-posing in the basement.
There's like a line between scary and goofy, and I think the spider thing might have crossed into goofy territory.
Maybe a little. Can I crank it? Oh, yes I can. It's taking an awfully long... Okay.
So why, when you bring these bags to the top, what do you do with them?
So, it's how the it's a mechanism. It's how the lighthouse turns. You crank
Oh, and it
this,
falls
and then
back to
it
the bottom.
falls down slowly, and it turns. And then once it hits the bottom, I have to crank it again. Like, I think this is what people used to have to do, like at lighthouses, like old-fashioned lighthouses. But I mean, everything's probably automated now.
It's kind of genius engineering, actually.
Yeah. I mean, except for the fact that someone has to
I
sit
thought
here
you were
and
bringing the
turn
grain
this
to like eat it. I
No.
thought this was what you do.
I'm so
And I
hungry.
was curious why you needed to bring it to the top, like. But that does make much more sense.
What? Classic lighthouse sludge spider monster. What was that, though? Oh.
Oh.
A little drowsiness, a little lightheadedness.
You have low iron.
My blood sugar.
You stood up too quickly.
I can't, like, do anything. I don't...
Oh, I see. Jeffrey has trapped you up here for being a bad employee.
I think I'm a good... What did I do wrong? Oh, what's that?
You have to wipe the windows down again?
There's a lot of...
Butterflies? Or moths?
Yeah,
I'm not really sure. I think moth makes more
moths.
sense.
Very
Whoa.
many of them. Almost too many, I'd say. Lamp. Oh, no, don't break the glass,
Ew.
though. Oh, God. Get me out of here. Get me out.
Do the moths live under the lighthouse?
Yeah, I don't really understand. Oh. They're
Oh, that was
done.
convenient.
Yeah.
What if you pulled that candle out and they just all came right back?
They're like, oh.
Or oil lamp, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oil, comma. can't like.
Who is it?
I'm
coming.
Bro fell down the stairs.
Hey, how'd the light turn back on? Who did
Beats
that?
me. Okay.
We teleported.
Yeah, we teleported. Literally.
Oh, it was all just a dream.
All just a dream. Another day,
What is
another...
that?
Another... meet? You said you're doing homework?
Less so now, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm working on it a little bit. Why were you curious?
I was gonna ask if you wanted to play Overwatch. I kind of don't want to play this anymore.
Dude, why not? You're so close.
I'm so close, really?
No.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more to do is why, and
You're like, I mean, I don't know. There's only 4 days, and you're on the 3rd day.
Okay.
If that gives you some insight. But there is like maybe like a sort of 5th day thing, I guess. It's not really a day though.
That does not sound like thunder. It sounded like straight up something demonic. Stop! I hate the loud thunder. How'd I go? Hope I have an umbrella. Hope my oil lamp works in the rain.
I don't, yeah. My oil lamp is waterproof.
What do I have to do today, I wonder?
It's just a little drizzle.
Maybe I'll go check the boat, see if there's another rock. Rip bitrate? Is it not bad? What happened? Oh, is it because of the rain? The rain's causing the bitrate to go down.
It's actually kind of just an illusion if you think about it. That's just what the rain looks like.
Yeah. This is the part of me.
Is this your sprinting speed?
Oh no, I forgot about sprinting.
Jesus.
I'm just having so much fun going on my leisurely walk.
So much environmental, so much atmospheric.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, this is a waste of time. Oh, is my lamp still on? Waterproof.
This job has its perks. Like a waterproof lamp.
My man is getting tired of sprinting.
There is another medallion, but it's just not at the boat, by the way. All of the medallions are optional, also.
Oh, they're optional. I thought I had to use them to beat the game.
I think they give you a different ending.
Ah.
There are 3 endings to this game, but there is another medallion for today.
It's in the shitter.
Dang, that would be crazy if it was.
I'd be a crazy genius. Did I check the shed?
It's for like the best ending is the medallions.
I don't want to go into the shed. Ah, I must.
Ah, a clue. A Blue's Clue.
A clue!
Dude, we should play Clue.
On Tabletop Simulator? What do you mean?
We could.
You know, oh wait, you weren't a part of that. I used to all the time with Eamon. There was like
you
this.
You play Clue?
Yes, there is this brief.
I love Clue.
I love Clue too. There was this brief phase where we would play Clue on Tabletop Simulator like every day. That was like what we did instead of League. Was Clue on Tabletop Simulator. It was fun. I'm down. I'll play Clue. Have you seen the Clue movie from 1985?
Multiple times. There's different endings. I think we watched it. I think you and I literally watched it together.
Yeah, that's like my favorite movie, like unironically.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love Clue. The problem is we could play Clue, but we don't have enough people to play Clue.
How many do you need?
I think it's
4?
3 minimum. It's definitely better with more people because you get less cards.
Yeah. Maybe it could be arranged sometime.
A little Clue get together.
Clue get together. There was a mound next to the shed. Oh.
Time to shovel.
Really? A mound? Oh, you're right. Can't wait to find something. Hopefully not a corpse. Oh.
You weren't hoping hard enough.
Teehee.
Who buried that there?
Yeah, like for real.
Am I expected to believe that your character buried it there and then was willing to dig it back up?
Dug it up. Ooh.
Looking for dirt. Any mound of dirt here?
Was it literally just for that?
No, wait, check further back there.
Okay.
Like, no, behind the lighthouse.
Oh. Oh.
There she is.
Oh. Isopod?
The walkthrough calls it caterpillar, actually.
It looks like a, it looks like just a larva. Really?
Yeah,
like a
I think so, as well.
maggot. Death and decay. I mean, I probably missed the first day's stone anyways, though. Yeah, I definitely did. See, I only have 2 and 3.
Yeah, there was one from the first day.
Oh,
Maybe you
well.
I guess I don't know if you can do them after or not. The first one was a suitcase on the dock.
On the dock.
If you wanted to look.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna check it out.
It says, pick up the suitcase on the dock, go to your house, put the suitcase on the table in the bedroom, take the lighthouse medallion from the suitcase.
I think I already have a suitcase in my bedroom that like appeared there after the first day, so I think there's probably not a suitcase on the dock anymore. Can I see the dock from here? Yeah, I don't think there's a suitcase in there.
Yeah, if you already have one, it's probably the same one.
Yeah. Damn. Oh well. Who up playing with a stone worm?
You can still get 2 of the other endings.
Hi, Andy.
That ending is like the one where you can kill the creature. Inside of the chest is a little tool that can help you slay the creature.
Oh. It's Lark. Guess I have to dig up the keys somewhere. I love running around in the rain with my shovel.
Hey, oh yeah, this says day 3, hard rain in parentheses. Also, yeah, you are supposed to look for the key with your shovel. You're so good at gaming.
Thank you.
You're such a gamer. Gamer girl.
Gamer girl.
Yes, I'm girl. Yes, I play games. You wanna
Yes,
know how
I'm
I play
gamer
'em?
girl. Have
I
you?
play 'em. Go on.
I was gonna ask if you've seen the
be
plague, the plague of like posts on Twitter that are like, who wants to watch anime and play game with me? And then it's like a stolen like OnlyFans picture. It's like a scam.
Jesus. Who wants to anime and play games with me?
It was like it was happening to me and Cameron. I saw a lot of other people tweeting about it. Like a bunch of bots were just like doing that, I guess. I don't know.
So are they're like sexy girls, like sexy girls.
Oh yeah, they're like naked girls.
I see, I see. Boy only want 2 things. Anime, play game. 3 things, big titty.
Yeah.
So you clicked the link though, right?
Oh yeah.
Dude, not to this shit again.
I didn't mean to it!
You can't do that. That's not the correct way.
Oh shit, oh shit!
Oh my god, you're picking up speed.
Oh yeah,
Inertia
very
is the property of
fast.
matter.
Oh god.
The speed is like inconsistent. Sometimes it's like you're running faster than him, and sometimes he's catching up so quickly.
I guess I like run out of stamina maybe? Ah!
Home sweet home. Just a kidding.
Are you for real? Oh, don't you fucker!
You're not very skilled with this. Is that a room right to the left that you can run into? Do you really have to run this far?
I don't know. Ah! Go into the shed? I hate that shed. Let me
Oh, you can skip. If you fail enough, they just let you skip it. This is the video game journalist option.
Shed or hell, pick your poison. Video game journalist option? Is that what you said?
Yeah. They gotta have something for the video game journalist.
Are they bad at games?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You ever read a video game journalist article?
I don't even know where the shed is. Oh, here it is. Let me in!
There was one on your like left, like when you're running
really?
this way, like there was something to the left of not backwards though. Like you're going straight, and then I think there's what?
It's so hard to turn around!
You don't need to turn around, I don't think.
Yes, I do. I'm facing him.
Oh,
I'm
you
walking
start
this
facing
way.
him?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought every time you were turning around to see him. I thought you were doing this on purpose. That makes so much more sense. And also, they really think you are working for Polygon.com right now. You're writing your Kotaku article.
To my left? I don't see anything.
Right.
Oh wait, shit!
Yeah. Well, maybe I could. Is that there's no? You know what? You'll get there. Okay. Overshot the door a little bit. That's okay. Maybe you should just run right to the lighthouse.
It's locked! Can't breathe! Run straight to the lighthouse. It's locked though, isn't it?
Oh, you're right. It is locked. Yeah, I forgot that was like the whole objective. Sometimes you just gotta skip it. You know?
I don't know what's wrong with me! But I wasn't supposed to go to the shed. See, because I ended up at my house.
Oh.
So I don't think I could get into the shed. I think it's house only.
Well,
First try.
they shouldn't have made it so hard.
It's literally so impossible to control my character.
It's puts Cuphead to shame.
Oh my god. Oh. She's so good. Oh my god, I'm crying. I might have to stop after all that, I'm not gonna lie. My stomach hurts from laughing. That was so funny. Where am I? Dude just goes outside like normal. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the place where I got chased by the big spider too. I mean, like at this point, it's do or die. Maybe he thinks it's a dream or something.
It was only just a dream. Do you know that song?
Yeah. You know, I'm at payphone trying to call home.
Was it all of my change I spent on you? Something like that. I don't know what Adam Levine's doing. Didn't he cheat on his wife?
Did he? Is that what all those memes are about?
No, those are about Ned, who cheated on his wife. Try Guys.
Can't people just not cheat on their wives?
Well, you would think. But...
Main character has dementia and cataracts. Can you sing Party Rock Anthem? Party Rock is in the house tonight.
Everybody go
Have a good time.
And we gon' make you lose your mind.
We just wanna see you.
Shake that. Shake that. Every day I'm shuffling.
I literally... What's their other song that sounds the exact same? I can't tell the difference between these two songs.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sexy and I know it. They're the same song.
Yeah, but Momoland released Boom Boom and Bam Bam.
That's true. Sorry for party rocking.
Oh my god, I forgot about that song.
Yeah.
And I wish I could forget again.
How do you code into the game like how steep of a hill your character can go up? Like, how does that work?
Something about nav mesh and speed. I don't do game design. Right now, you want to hear what my assignment is right now from this class?
Yeah.
That I'm working on. Okay, everyone listening can help me too. This is for my CS 5321. It's advanced algorithms. And this question says, you are given an unsorted array A. Describe an algorithm that partitions A into K equal size subarrays B0, B1, ... Bk, where Bi is equal to, I'm not going to read this because it's a very long equation, but then it says, A is a parameter such that K is less than or equal to log squared n. Each Bi except for the last one contains n over K elements. Subarray Bk contains at most n over K elements. Elements in each subarray can be unsorted, but every element in Bi must be smaller than any element in Bi plus 1. Describe an algorithm that is asymptotically faster than sorting. So it has to be better than O.
Why are you learning this? Are you gonna make
what do you mean?
rockets? Are you gonna work for NASA?
Oh, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. But actually, I'm too stupid to figure it out, so probably not. No, I have something.
When you get rich, can I live in your house?
I'm not gonna get rich.
What?
They're never. I don't know. Yeah, you can live in my house though.
Yeah.
I'll never be rich. I think you can't ethically be rich though. Also.
Oh, I don't mean like that rich. I mean like my dad rich.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, I get the couch in my bedroom. That's how I know I've made it. I get the Ray Dunn pantry. If I have a Ray Dunn pantry,
leave my pantry alone.
have you ever talked about your Ray Dunn pantry?
No, you can tell them.
I need everyone listening to know. Nadeko has this pantry in her house. It's like a walk-in pantry. It's very nice. It has a glass door that says the word pantry on it. Like you know, like the Ray Dunn, like it's very specific. Like Ray Dunn is this company that makes these like cups and stuff that all just say like coffee. It's like having a sugar jar that says sugar on it. And she has a pantry that says pantry. Just in case you forget.
I didn't. Yeah, what if I forget? Is that not normal? See, they're on my side. You can't turn them against me.
It's not that it's abnormal. It's just that to me, that's like, oh, it's a little bit money. Well, I guess
it's a little.
No,
because
my dad has a walk-in pantry, and he doesn't have like an abnormal amount of money. I think it's just like funny, like the pantry says pantry.
Do you remember that awful movie that we watched with fucking what's his nuts, Devin? Forever ago.
How many of them? Which one?
Pantry
Jerusalem?
Ghost. The Pantry Ghost. Do you remember the fucking Pantry Ghost? Yes.
I do not remember Pantry.
It was so funny. It was like this hilarious, like Paranormal Activity wannabe, like found footage ghost movie, but it was so the production
found
quality.
Footage.
Yeah, the production.
Did I watch this with you? You might have watched it without me.
Maybe, I don't know. I definitely watched it with Devin.
No, I remember when we watched. I talk about this all the time. Remember when we watched Unfriended in German, like 3 years?
No, it wasn't Unfriended. It wasn't Unfriended. It was the Unfriended knockoff. Friend Request. Yes. Yeah. We watched it in Russian. It was Russian, I think.
Or Russian.
It was German or Russian. Like 2 years before the U.S. theatrical release, where they had like refilmed it all or dubbed it or something in English.
Yeah,
that's
I have
crazy.
no idea. They acted like it was new though. I remember when Friend Request was like being advertised in English. It had been like multiple years since we had already watched the movie.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it was dubbed. So maybe they shot it twice. But that would be so weird if they shot it twice.
Maybe we both were hit over the head with
maybe this is like a Mandela effect.
Yeah, no, we never actually watched
Friend Request in Russian, but I swear we did.
I'm very confident.
Look it up. Maybe I'm sure it says on like IMDb or Wikipedia or whatever that it came out in whatever country first.
Friend Request. Okay.
Huh?
I'm sure that's not gonna give me like bad results. Let me see. I'm gonna see Friend Request movie. One is actually yes, because this one says. Wait, are these two different? Oh, this is a different Friend Request actually. It was released in the USA September 22nd, 2017, but it was released in Germany January 7th,
you're right, it was
2016.
German.
Yeah, we watched the German one right after it was released.
Yeah, we watched it wasn't a camera, but it was like...
It was horrible, whatever it was. Are you sure it wasn't a camera?
Maybe it was a camera. It was awful.
It definitely had like hard-coded subtitles.
Yeah, it was almost 2 years later that the...
Yeah. So funny. That movie's horrible.
Yeah, really bad movie.
Have you ever watched a good movie, actually?
Have we ever watched a good movie? Clue.
That's about it.
We watched a lot of movies.
And they're always bad, which is the best part.
Moon Knight? I don't know what Moon Knight is. We like pretty much... Okay, I'll tell you guys what we used to do. So we would go on...
Foot Locker.
Yeah, so if you guys remember the website Rabbit was this website... Okay, I'm gonna pause again. Rabbit was this website where, like, it was like a screen share, but, like, everybody could control it. And it was, like, no one's screen. It was, like some remote screen that everybody could control. It was just a web browser. You couldn't do anything else with it. And we would go on this site called Putlocker, which I think has been dead for many years now, but it was just like a pirated streaming like Like, you could just watch any movie on there, but, like, not legally. Like, it was very illegal. And they just have every movie on there. And we would get on Rabbit. The three of us, me, Kirk, and my boyfriend at the time. We'd get on Rabbit. And we did this all day, every day for months, I swear. We didn't do anything else with our time, I swear to God.
I just had a horrible remembrance, which is that Putlocker linked us to MonkeyVid.
MonkeyVid? Yeah, MonkeyVid.
We used to, dude.
GorillaVid. I don't know.
GorillaVid, that's what it was. It was GorillaVid.
GorillaVid.
We would go on Putlocker. We would find random movies when they were first released.
We would go to
GorillaVid.
GorillaVid. Yeah, we would go, and so Putlocker didn't actually host anything on their website. It would link to other, like, random obscure video hosts.
Upload.
Yeah.
Like
GorillaVid is one of them, and you could go to GorillaVid's homepage and just see, like, crazy stuff that people have been uploading on there. Anyway.
That's something we did as well.
Yeah. But we would go on Putlocker. We would do this all day, every day. Go on Putlocker, go to the horror genre specifically, and then just pick, like, the worst shit.
Yeah, we were always looking for the worst looking movie.
Yeah, the one that looked the worst is what we would pick. Do you remember that one we watched that was like, it was like campy. It was like a parody campy type thing. And I think it was maybe, it was like German, but they were speaking English with like German accents. And they went to a burger factory, and it was like they're supposed to be like high schoolers, but they're like obviously grown adults because like it's camp.
It was like a camp thing. Yeah, I do remember this.
And they went to this burger factory and got made into burgers.
Yes, yeah, I know. I don't know what it was called, but I remember watching this movie. It was just like gore porn.
Yeah, but it was like almost like scary movie type movie. Like it was like making fun of slashers. Yeah, it was like camp.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah, that was another especially.
We also used to play
one.
like Papa's Pizzeria.
Oh yeah, we would play Papa's Pizzeria on Rabbit. Man, Rabbit, I miss her.
It still exists. It just sucks now. It's called Cast with a K.
Yeah, but you have to like install it on your PC, and it like doesn't work good, right?
I don't know. Now you just use Discord. This was also a time like before Discord.
This is before Discord. So like Skype screen sharing didn't have sound. So if you wanted,
yeah, we used to be on Skype calls, and then we'd have Rabbit open.
Yeah, if you wanted to watch something with your friends like over Skype, you would have to do like the 3, 2, 1 play type of situation, which I did very often. I watched, I think, probably all of iCarly doing that, like all of iCarly with Eamon, and we would just say 3, 2, 1 play and play every episode. Like,
that's
who
what we used to
has
do in
the time and the patience for that?
Before Rabbit came out.
Before Rabbit,
like, Dang, do you remember Mumble?
Mumble with the lips?
The lips? Oh yeah. Raid Call?
Those luscious lips. Raid Call, do you remember?
We take Discord for granted.
Oh yeah. I remember when Discord came out and everybody was telling me to get on it. I was like, fuck you. I don't want to get on Discord. Fuck you. I like
Discord
Skype.
Discord also kind of like wasn't that good when it first came out. Or like people didn't know how to use it, I guess. Remember, like, people used to, like, hate making servers. People, like, wouldn't make servers. And then, like, 1 year later, everyone decided that they needed to make their own server.
No,
it was, like, two opposites.
I know people that still won't make servers or won't join servers.
Grow up. Just make a server.
Oh my god, even my lamp is out of oil. What's happening?
Oh my god, it's so scary.
So scary, yeah. Nah, bro, Skype is good enough. Remember MySpace? No, I'm not young enough for, old enough.
Not young enough.
Yeah, I'm not old enough for MySpace.
We are uniquely like MSN/Skype DeviantArt children.
Yeah. No MySpace.
When we were 10, we were prowling DeviantArt.com, and not for good reasons. we were not gifted. I wasn't, at least. I was less gifted. That's okay though. Is DeviantArt still a website?
Oh yeah, I went on there today.
Oh my god.
I was looking for.
Anything good?
I was looking for something. Yeah, it's still a website. I think it's dead though. I'll say exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for Photoshop action.
Oh.
to make a picture look prettier. But I couldn't find anything, so then I went on Tumblr. The look down and walk backwards technique. Listen, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to be frightened. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be...
I want to beep, 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 beep. Dang, that was another part of Rabbit Putlocker movie era was we would watch the Zerodle I Wanna Be music video frequently.
All the time. We also watched a lot of a very specific vein of YouTubers, and I guess it was ironic. We watched like slime YouTubers and like DIY like YouTubers that made like DIY Cheetos eyeshadow, like that type
DIY giant ramen jelly EOS lip balm.
Yeah, like that type of stuff. It was so the depravity of it all. I don't even know.
The problem is, it definitely started out as ironic, but it at least for me, I got like a genuine sense of joy. But the other thing is, we never subscribed to. We used to just know all of the like DIY YouTube content creators, and we would just look them up and go to their YouTube pages, like, oh, let's see who this person has posted.
Someone's walking
and
on
it was
my
always
roof.
some crazy stuff. I love the cross on your wall.
Oh, thank
Your character has a religion.
Jesus. Someone fell through my ceiling? Oh, someone's in my window?
Foghorn?
It's like quite a small hole, actually. Well, at least there's no, poop.
At least there is. Wait. Right. Yeah.
That's it, though.
Oh.
Picked it up.
Well, it's gone. At least it's not raining anymore.
Yeah? Yeah?
Y'all.
Badass seagull broke the roof. Oh, I've got the soup. Don't know why. Is there nothing else I can touch? I can only fix, like, some of this? I can only fix, like, half the mess? I can't really say I understand. What? You see this?
Maybe
Did you use the broom?
Maybe you don't need to.
Yeah, but like I want to. It's just weird to me that I could pick up like half of it, but not the other half.
Your character got tired.
My chest beat. Mm-hmm.
Your what?
Chest. This?
Oh, yeah.
My 2 days.
Well, it's locked forever, though.
Yeah. This is the last day?
Yes.
Yay, oh, foggy.
Yes. This day ends with,
Don't spoil it.
No, I'm just saying, like, it ends with the start of each of the 3 endings.
Okay. Ew.
So, like, your ending for the day is different depending on... Well, you can't get one of them, because you can't open the chest.
Yeah. Oh well. Oh my god. Sounds so bad. You ever just lick the floor? No. What? Why did I do that? You want this?
Yeah. That's me, by the way.
Okay. Eat this bitch.
Hey.
What? to do with this? I don't know why I picked this shit up. Oh, I'm like slow.
This is soup?
Yeah.
I don't see soup anywhere in this list. I don't even know why I let you pick that up.
Am I not supposed to have it? Oops.
I mean, it might just be something you can pick up, but I don't think you use it for anything. But I might be wrong. It doesn't seem like you use it, though. Feed the monster. Oh, yeah, maybe. I didn't actually look that far. Maybe it's one of your secret endings. Is you give the monster a tasty little dinner, and he leaves you alone.
Now that I have it, I can't, like, put it anywhere. It's just, like, in my inventory forever. Soup in your pocket. Yes. What? I played a scary noise, but I didn't see anything. Did anyone see what I was supposed to... Does anyone know what I was supposed to see there? Oh, it's like flooded. Maybe that's what. Look behind the shed.
Hard.
Hard. Does it have to go in the shed? I don't know.
Ladder. Is there anything else in here?
I don't know, I don't like it in there.
Did you get the... You got the ladder from the shed, right?
Yeah.
Did you get anything else from the shed? Okay, you're gonna have to go back to the shed. There's 4 things in the shed that you're supposed to pick up, and the ladder is one of them.
I hate these noises. Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off!
Is there some... Oh, there it is. Is there something in here? Is that why you're looking down?
I don't know! If I knew...
I don't think there's anything in the shed, except for those things.
Look at this little nail I have!
It's so petite. She's so skinny.
Put the ladder back in your pocket with the soup. I'm making a...
You know what you have to do with these tools?
Yeah, fix this hole in my fucking ceiling. No?
Yeah, you're right. I just don't know how. But that's what it says. Good luck. Does it tell me where you have to put the ladder? Oh, yeah. You can't put the ladder inside. That's why.
My ceiling. Yeah. Right.
That sounded kind of like the Hannah Montana opening.
Fix it from inside the house? I don't know. You can't scare me with your ambient noise game. For I am no fool. How does this responsibility fall to me? Fix this motherfucking...
You're the only one on the island. Who else is gonna do it? The monster?
Yeah.
That's true. He broke it. Do you need this many nails?
I mean... Does it need to cut to black every time I do anything?
Well, they didn't animate it, is why. That's the old style graphics. It's a little bit of a movie magic trick.
Great. Dude, I'm so sick of this noise. Oops. I climbed fucking back up!
Did you ever play the Eve remake?
Yeah, I did. I played it on stream. Do the butterfly. 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 Butterfly, fly away. You know that song from the Hannah movie?
No, I did not know that.
You haven't seen that? Bitch.
So I put my hands up. Dude, I don't think I've ever seen
my song. Butterflies forward. Oh shit!
Nodding my head like yeah. Did you like that? That was a little bit of freestyle.
Freestyle. Party in the USA. Yeah, 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 yeah. Party in the USA. Oh, my bunny doesn't like that. She just thumped. Did you hear that?
She said, "Shut the fuck up." I did not hear it.
I'm pretty sure it was my bunny. It might have come from the game, but I think it was my bunny. She just thumped. She's not like my singing. Why did she thump? Is there something in her cage? I'm so confused. Hello? Why are you thumping? I'm so confused. I don't know. Probably nothing. She just does that sometimes. I don't know if she like actually gets mad at me for being too loud, but she'll do it if like she'll do it when like I'm not even like being that loud sometimes. But she just wants to be quiet. I'm trying to fucking sleep out here.
She runs this show. She runs this household.
Just demanding attention. She's not like that though. She doesn't like attention. Like she doesn't like to be pet or held or anything. Like she just wants to be left alone. I didn't raise no attention whore.
Dude, I feel like I remember when you got that bunny.
Yeah.
Because you were like, I want this bunny so bad. And then you're like, I'm just gonna ask if I can get this bunny. And then you said, I'm getting the bunny.
Yeah.
But it's been a while, I guess.
Yeah, I've had it for 2 years.
Dang, time really flies.
Oh yeah. Ah! Fuck her! Fuck you. God, fuck. Dude, it didn't even play any fucking sound. There was just a guy. Oh, sorry, Jake. Hi. Is there a Discord to join? Yeah, you type exclamation mark Discord and it'll give you a link. Time to die in the... Ooh, ooh, oh. That was really well done. Here I go. Sure hope.
Oh my god, you're in the basement.
I'm in the basement.
You I don't think you should do this.
Why not? This makes it scarier. Oh.
Because it's
okay.
a long
There I go.
Yeah, it's a maze. You just look down. You just give up. That's so funny.
You fucking cunt! You think this is fucking funny? I hate this. Oh yeah!
Whoa.
Into the hole I go. What? That's it? What you did was
No,
for
that's
Halloween.
not it.
Yeah.
What was that?
I fell into the hole. Question mark? I don't know, man! I just went into the hole.
Oh. I think this is one of the endings. Or maybe not.
Previous killer disappeared. I'm here still.
Keeper.
Ooh,
Oh, now you're in the maze part, I think, maybe.
delicious. What's that?
Oh my god, my lamp.
Oh, it's a lamp. I thought it
I
was.
was looking for that.
I was not looking at that the right way. I did not know what that was. I thought it was like a key with like a spark plug on it. I was like, what the hell? Oh
Yeah,
shit!
this is
Get out
this
of my
is
face.
this is the maze part.
I feel like I'm in a fucking Oblivion dungeon. I don't want to do a maze, man. Are you serious?
Also, do you want a little tip for the maze?
Sure.
If you use your lamp, the monster can find you faster.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, so I'm not gonna use it. Dude, take your heels off. You're so loud. This guy's strutting.
Got places to be.
It's the only thing he has
Let
left.
him
Let him
slay.
slay.
That's so true.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, you fucking bitch! What is this?
What is that?
It makes me slow though. What is it? I don't.
Oh, give it to him.
I thought you might
Never mind.
want it. I don't know. Let me put it here.
Hang it on that chain.
No.
Let it dry out. No, never mind.
Well, the other one is.
Oh,
Gotta take it somewhere.
okay.
What do I do? Ah. Bye, my lover. Bye, my friend. You have been the one. You have
That's
been
really
the
beautiful.
one for me. What am I supposed to do?
You're just supposed to get through the maze. I have a picture of it if you want, but it says that the lengths of the actual corridors can vary. But the like path you take is the same. It's just like the distance might be longer or shorter.
I'm gonna.
But also I don't know where you are in the maze anymore, so I don't know how helpful it is.
Ooh, sheesh.
Dude, sword.
Huh? What's happening? I kill myself? What? Where am I now? I'm back on the beach. This boat's not fucked up anymore. Got a bottle. Oh, we got a lot of bottles. Oh, I was just drunk. Well, back to work. Drink too much, had a bad trip. Yeah, because that's how drinking works.
I'm tripping.
Tripping balls on alcohol.
Literally tripping ball sacks.
Ew. Wait, this is different. This is a different place. There's a water hole. What is this called? Ringu. What is this fucking called?
A well?
A well. You ever seen The Ring?
I think I've actually only seen one of the sequels.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't
7
know there
days.
was
No, 7 days is
sequels.
like there's there was wait, hold on. Let me look it up.
Let's still got my soup. Ooh. Hello? It's not a very good movie. I haven't seen the original. It's like one of those. It's like The Grudge. It's like one of those English remakes of a Japanese film. But I
Yeah,
haven't.
I just discovered that while looking at the Wikipedia. I didn't know that. I was like shocked to find that out.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original. I have seen the original Grudge.
The movie that I've seen is Rings, plural, which is from 2017,
I
which
think that's
is
probably a remake.
um
Or I guess it's a sequel.
it,
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
yeah, I don't know. It's either a sequel. I think it's yeah, it doesn't seem like a remake, but it might not be related to the Japanese one, like because American cast and crew in American films are just their own section here, so it might just be a uniquely American movie using the same like.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the only one I've ever seen was
Back
that one.
into the hole I go. Oh, never mind. Dude, I thought I was done with this game. Ah. Oh. Okay. What was the point of that?
Yes, now you're in the temple. This is actually the last part of the game. You kind of slayed the maze, the underground map maze.
Yeah, what the hell? Didn't really feel like much of a maze.
Unless this is that? I don't think so. I think this is the temple, because it says you will appear in an underworld of some kind, which is what this looks like to me.
Oh, this is the maze still. This is the same place.
Oh. Damn.
It just like had like a little shit, a little moment. Moment for life, Nicki Minaj.
Oh. Let's go to the beach. Beach.
Oh, there. I went down there. Where else can I go? Nice try, Andy. I have nerves of steel.
Here we go.
Oh, it's lowering.
Oh, that's where the goop comes from.
Ooh. Worm action. Cool, cool. What? Um. What? This looks like Roblox. Oh, I can stand on it. Cool. Where's his pee-pee? Nice cock. Get you. Oh, I have to go cut that guy up. Cut. Yes, give me this. This all makes so much sense. I feed it to the worm. Genius. How is that inside him? Pretty simple.
Blaine?
Hmm?
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Back here. Well, back to work. What even is happening? I literally have no fucking clue. But this is like back in time, I think, when there was like a whole village on the island, I guess. Now I got no bitches. I'm guessing I have to go into the basement and get jump scared again. My foot's asleep. And then ow, my foot is fucking asleep. I didn't even go into my house. Ooh, what we got out back? Some hay. Very nice. Cheddar seems to be in order. Very good. What? I'm just banging on doors in the middle of the night. Fucking menace.
Light of 87. Yeah, why aren't you playing Five Nights at Freddy's?
Five Nights at Freddy's. What am I supposed to be doing? My foot's asleep. Did you play Five Nights at Freddy's?
Me?
Yeah.
No, but I've seen it. I've seen all of those games. I've never played them.
You've seen them? Like, seen a whole playthrough?
Yeah, like I've just watched people play them.
That's crazy. look at the Mario movie trailer. Didn't watch it, don't care.
Dude, they got, was it Chris Pratt as Mario?
Oh, wow.
But he just sounds like himself. Is it Chris Pratt? I don't remember. It's
Yeah,
some
it's
Chris.
Chris Pratt. It's Chris Pratt. Yeah, I don't really care about Mario. Mario's like, I didn't grow up with Mario. I never played the Mario. I don't know how to care about Mario. What am I supposed to be fucking doing, man? Checking all the
best part is,
shitters?
I like don't know what you're supposed to be doing because I don't even know like where. Maybe if I find a newer, like what the point you're at right now, I'm like I don't even know what this is.
There's a graveyard in the back of what? In the back of the lighthouse? Lighthouse 2 Village.
Yeah, did you? What was the last thing you did?
Last thing I did was I cut a guy open and then I put a little ball in a little snake's mouth.
So
And
you
then
chased the guy?
I did not chase anybody.
Fuck. Did you get hungry at any point? Did your character have a little snack?
No, no snacking.
Alright. Have you?
Graveyard.
We certainly were underground.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I go over here.
Did you pull any levers? Any levers at any point?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you wake up in your house? After the last time you were underground, did it spawn you in your house?
Wait, what side?
I
I was reading something.
The last time you were in the ground, did it like spawn you in your house after or outside?
Oh wait, I'm at the graveyard. I found what I needed to do. Yes. Open this coffin.
Dude, how'd all those get in there?
I don't know. Can I do any more digging up? Or... How often does this save? Because I kind of need to go.
Dude, where did this guy come from?
I don't know. Something came up though, and I have to go. I'll continue this tomorrow or maybe later tonight. Goodbye, my friends.
Bye bye.